Welcome back to Murder with Mike's Wife. Tonight, we're tackling one of the most controversial cases in modern true crime, y'all. We're talking about the death of Ellen Greenberg.
This case is heartbreaking, confusing, and infuriating all at once. A young teacher, 20 stab wounds, and a ruling of suicide that has left her family fighting for answers more than a decade.
And we're going to break down the timeline, the evidence, the rulings, the theories, and this ongoing battle, y'all, for justice. And we're also going to talk about what makes this case just so hard to accept.
Before we dive into the night of her death, let's talk about Ellen herself.
Definitely. So Ellen, she was born in 1983 in New York. She grew up with a loving family. She went to Penn State and became a first grade teacher in Philadelphia.
Her students adored her. She was known for her kindness, patience, and dedication. She was engaged to Samuel Goldberg, and they lived together.
Yeah. Now, her parents, Josh and Sandy, they described her as bright, caring, and deeply loved. She was planning her wedding, building her career, and living what seemed to be a happy life, y'all.
Philadelphia was hit with a blizzard that night. Schools closed early, and Ellen went home.
Probably happy to get the time off. Later, Goldberg, he would go to the gym, and when he came back, he found the apartment door locked from the inside.
He tried calling and texting Ellen. When she didn't respond, he forced his way in.
And inside, he would find Ellen on the kitchen floor. She had 20 stab wounds, 10 to her back and neck. 11 bruises were found on her body in different stages of healing. So previous bruises.
Goldberg's 911 call claims she stabbed herself and fell on a knife.
All right, y'all. 20 stab wounds, including the back and the neck. Now, that's not just suspicious, y'all. That's pretty much impossible.
The initial autopsy ruled Ellen's death as a homicide.
Right. But then police pressured the medical examiner to change that ruling to suicide. Why?
Well, the apartment was cleaned the very next day before detectives even got a warrant.
Yeah.
That destroyed potential evidence.
Definitely. Somebody was doing something. Goldberg's uncle, he was a judge. He would enter the apartment and remove Ellen's phone and computers. Now, that definitely breaks the chain of custody.
From the very beginning, this case was clouded by contradictions and questionable decisions.
It definitely was, and that's why so many people believe that the truth was buried in this case.
Ellen's parents have fought tirelessly. They filed lawsuits against the Philadelphia Medical Examiner's Office.
Yeah, and forensic experts Cyril Week and Henry Lee, they reviewed this case. Both said these wounds were consistent with homicide.
In 2025, pathologist Marlon Osborne, who originally ruled suicide, reversed his opinion. He said Ellen's death should not be classified as a suicide.
Yeah, but then Chief Medical Examiner Lindsay Simon reaffirmed suicide for some reason, citing hesitation wounds and Ellen's anxiety.
Two pathologists, two conclusions, and one family still searching for justice.
Yeah, definitely. Ellen's case has been everywhere, y'all. It's been on 48 Hours, Dr. Oz, Inside Edition, and there's even a popular Hulu documentary called Death in Apartment 603.
As well as her parents gathered more than 167,000 petition signatures demanding reinvestigating.
Yeah, I mean, they were out there doing the legwork. True crime communities worldwide continue to be fascinated with this case, y'all. Forums, podcasts, documentaries, like everyone has an opinion.
The more people that learn about Ellen's case, the more questions the official story.
Yeah, definitely. Like, that's what these shows are about. All right, y'all. Let's get to the mystery of these wounds, though. If I'm being honest, like, deep stab wounds to the chest, abdomen, and neck.
Several were in places that would nearly be impossible for someone to inflict on themselves.
And this suggests, these bruises on her body, that suggests prior injuries and maybe defensive wounds.
Experts also argued that the number and the placement of the wounds were consistent with homicide, not suicide.
Yeah. Common sense says stabbing yourself 20 times in the back defies logic.
For sure.
All right, y'all.
So, what are the theories?
All right. I'm glad you asked. One theory is that Ellen was murdered, possibly by someone she was close to. We've got the locked door, which raises all kinds of questions. But experts say it could have been staged.
Another theory is that Ellen is suffering from anxiety and depression, and that she did take her own life. That's the official ruling.
Yeah, but come on. These wounds do not match that theory. Suicide by stabbing is crazy rare. Suicide by stabbing yourself 20 times? That's just impossible, y'all.
So, some may believe the case was covered up to protect someone powerful. The involvement of Goldberg's uncle, the judge, fuels that suspicion.
It definitely does. And there's others that think it was simply incompetence. And it definitely was incompetence, but I think it was more than that. But they're citing a rushed investigation, poor handling of evidence, and officials unwilling to admit that they made mistakes, y'all. A lot of mistakes.
Josh and Sandy Greenberg have never stopped fighting.
Yeah, they hired lawyers, forensic experts, and countless investigators.
They've spoken publicly, appeared in interviews, and even documentaries.
Yeah, their mission's simple. They want to clear Ellen's name and prove that she did not take her own life, y'all.
For them, it's not just about closure. It's about truth. It's about justice. And it's about honoring Ellen's memory.
Yeah, that's right. Before we wrap up, though, Shae, I know you've been studying criminal psychology. So what is your take on this case?
So, from a psychological standpoint, this case raises red flags. Suicide by stabbing is extremely rare. Most suicides involve methods that are less physically demanding and less prolonged.
Right.
The sheer number of wounds, 20 in total, with 10 to the back and the neck, it's inconsistent with typical self-inflicted harm.
So you're definitely saying the behavior doesn't match the role.
Exactly. In criminal psychology, we look at patterns. The placement of the wounds, the presence of the bruises in different stages of healing, and the locked door scenario definitely suggests external involvement.
Right.
The bruises, they could indicate prior abuse or defensive actions. That points towards a struggle, not hesitation.
Yeah. So what about the ruling of suicide then?
The ruling feels more like administrative decision.
Right.
Not really a psychological one. Anxiety was mentioned, but anxiety alone does not explain the level of violence against oneself. So if Ellen had been suicidal, the method chosen here is highly unusual. It doesn't align with known psychological profiles of self-harm or suicide.
So we're safe to say, from your perspective, this evidence leans towards homicide.
Yeah. While we can't say indefinitely without a reinvestigation, the psychological and behavioral evidence strongly suggests Ellen did not take her own life. The inconsistencies, the forensic contradictions, and the family fight all point to a case that deserves to be reopened.
Yeah, the family put so much into just proving that she didn't take her own life. And that's a powerful conclusion.
And for me, as a student of criminal psychology, Ellen's case is a reminder of why thorough investigations matter. When evidence is mishandled or ignored, justice is compromised. In Ellen's story, the human cost is devastating.
So Ellen Greenberg's story is more than a mystery. It is a true test of justice, y'all.
Was she murdered or did she take her own life? Her parents believe the truth has been buried under bureaucracy and broken trust.
Yeah, and until the day comes when Ellen's death is properly explained, her case will remain one of America's most chilling unsolved questions.
And tonight we remember Ellen not just for how she died, but for how she lived. A teacher, a daughter, a fiance, a woman whose story demands to be told.
Definitely. And guys, that's why we do these shows. That's why we want to shine a light to our viewers, maybe someone that doesn't know about this case. And other than that, this has been Murder with Mike's Wife. Stay curious, y'all. Stay questioning, and we'll see you next time. Also, sources before we wrap up: Wikipedia, Senate, CNN, Lamb, Mackerlane PC, and Sipmendale Foundation. All right, I'm Mike.
I'm Shae.
We'll see you next time.